Hello and welcome to the Cologne Legacy League Tournament, April edition, and this is round 2, Sultai Tempo versus Mono Black. I'm your host, Stefan, and with me is my co-commentator, Chris. Say hi, Chris.
Hello, welcome everyone.
So, we're watching this matchup for the first time because, well, neither of these two decks are very present. Now, Mono Black is not exactly a specialty of the player playing it. He's currently on a roll of trying to play different decks, whereas the Sultai player is a tempo specialist and plays typically Dimir. However, he does like to bleed into other colors. So we saw that Mono Black begins the game with a fetch land and plays one of the new creatures from Bloomburrow, whose name escapes me currently.
Moonshadow, I think is what it's called.
Yes, absolutely, Moonshadow. Of course, it's not Bloomburrow. It's Lorwyn Eclipsed. So this creature gains counters every single time something enters the graveyard on the black player's side, which of course makes it perfect for a deck that likes to play fetch lands and Thoughtseizes and other such things. And consequently, it eats a fatal push immediately.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how, now it's already gone, but I would have been interested to see if Toby hits all the triggers, because that is tricky to do in this deck. A lot of cards are hitting his graveyard, and then, more than you would usually think.
Yeah. Interesting to see a Dauthi Voidwalker here, because as you mentioned, cards hitting the graveyard, Dauthi Voidwalker keeps cards from doing exactly that, meaning that there is a little bit of a non-bow here. However, Tobias really does not want to see this. Tobias, well, they're both called Tobias here, so Sultai Tobias really does not want to see this here, and so he pitches a force into a force and begins his own turn with a ponder.
Well, the Dauthi Voidwalker only targets the opponent's graveyard, and the Moonshadow only counts your graveyard. So it's cool.
So shuffling for a ponder.
Ponder shuffle. Yeah,
a classic. I could not. Obviously not knowing the hand. I don't quite know what he was looking for. But suffice it to say that he was not happy with what he saw here. The Sultai deck, of course, bleeding into a third color means that it's going to have a hard time producing blue or blue-blue. Sultai Tobias decided to, how do you say that? The fact that he only plays one Murktide in his deck is certainly a concession to this, seeing as how he has a harder time producing blue-blue. So Thoughtseize wisely, I think, picks up Tamiyo and leaves a Brainstorm into lands in Sultai's hand. And we see a Street Wraith being cycled.
I think that's an interesting choice here with the Tamiyo and the Brainstorm. You could make arguments for taking the Brainstorm and leave him with the Tamiyo. I mean, the Tamiyo without a Brainstorm. What are you doing?
Well, that is correct. The Brainstorm, of course, offering Sultai the option to find cards to find better cards here. I do think it highly depends on what is in Mono Black's hands here. If you have got an answer for the Tamiyo, this is almost an automatic pick of the Brainstorm, and then you got your removal for the Tamiyo, and the game is basically over unless Sultai can top deck quite well here. That being said, the Tamiyo must go if he doesn't have an answer for her, because it is much easier to find card draw in the deck than it is to find a second Tamiyo. And so here we see Sultai put down a Barrogoyf, which of course is a serious threat in this deck, and a serious threat against any tempo deck. Now Sultai has plenty of ways to get rid of it. Maybe I shouldn't say plenty, but at least it got a few ways of getting rid of it, unlike, for example, Is it Delver? But still, with the threat being deployed here, Sultai is certainly on the back foot for now.
Yeah, for sure. And we still see a lot of courageous fetching of non-basic lands. Beautiful lands, by the way.
Yeah. Mono Black doing us all a favor and putting a counter on the Barrogoyf, so we know that it's a 4/5.
Yeah, that's very generous.
We might have to establish these counters for the next games.
Yeah, I agree. It's very difficult for us to keep track of that. But overall, I'm quite happy with the video this time. Much better than last month. So I learned from that for sure.
Well, let's see what the Sultai player learned here. Tapping 4 lands for a Kaito and tapping down the Baragoyf immediately.
Kaito minus.
Yes. So this freezes down the Baragoyf for a couple of turns, which of course will allow Sultai to get back into the game with card draw and other such things. Mono Black deciding to use their bauble and seeing a land, removing a turn, drawing for the bauble, and drawing for the turn. Well done.
No triggers missed.
No triggers missed that I could see.
Let's see, I see Thoughtseize. Is that Thoughtseize deployed? No.
Dark Ritual going up to 5 mana potentially.
Doomsday.
Well,
no.
That would certainly be a surprise. So he uses the Thoughtseize first of all. Losing a lot of life in the process.
Oh yeah. But I mean, he has a Baragoyf.
Yeah. Gets rid of the Brainstorm with the Dress Down being the last card and using Edict to get rid of the Planeswalker.
That's brutal.
That is brutal.
Like he had answers for everything.
Yeah. Now here we see Wasteland, and I guess if I had to pick one of those lands, I would also get rid of the Underground Sewer because it is certainly the most useful land. That being said, this is not very good space for Wasteland, especially because the mono black player knew that Sultai would draw another land, as he saw it with the bauble. And if you noticed, I still don't quite know why he cast the Dark Ritual.
Oh, that's true.
He went up to 3 mana. He used 1 for Thoughtseize. He used 2 for the Shieldred's Edict, and then he still had his Swamp open and used Wasteland. So maybe either there was a different plan considering what was in the Sultai player's hand, or it was just trying to grow the Baragoyf. Although no, these are I can't remember. I'm pretty sure he had an instant in his graveyard.
I mean, potentially he planned to play around Daze, like, pretty thoroughly.
I mean, you very much play around Daze if you've got 4 mana open.
That's true. So I feel like if this Baragoyf untaps, the deal is sealed here for Mono Black.
Yeah, the life gain on the one hand, but also just the sheer card advantage that Baragoyf provides is probably too much to overcome. That being said, Sultai still has the Dress Down that the mono black player knows, which at least gets rid of the effect for 1 turn.
So here,
eating a ping here.
He could have potentially played the Dress Down in response to the Bowmasters, right?
Yes, but he's trying to protect himself from the attack here. That being said, I could see how that would have been the correct play.
I mean, I think Toby played it end of like the mono black Toby played it end of turn, and then he could have played the Dress Down, get the card without the ping. But
either way, the Baragoyf connects but doesn't quite connect, and so he only loses 2, and the Baragoyf trigger doesn't go on the stack. Now, interestingly enough, this Bowmasters can now resolve because now the Dress Down is gone, but that of course means that the Baragoyf has grown out of reach again, so he can only really target the other Bowmasters. And, well, if it isn't 2026 Legacy, it's Bowmasters into Bowmasters into Bowmasters.
What a lovely card.
If you could see the stack visualized, it would be quite something to look at. Because in the end, well, yeah, the first Bowmasters is going to go away, which means that Sultai is going to get a token, and then the other Bowmasters will kill those Bowmasters, and the token on the mono black side is going to grow by 1.
So, what changed over the course of this? The Orc army of mono black. Toby should have grown by 1.
Yeah,
that's what he's doing now.
Yeah,
yes.
They resolved the triggers, not quite in the order that they were put on the stack, but they arrived at the same result regardless.
Yeah. Well, I don't like the small dice. Maybe that's also an instruction for the future to have like the very clear.
I know a guy if you need huge dice, but I digress. So we see
What's
an Uro,
that?
and this is where the Sultai player is going to start growing out of reach here. Now, on the one hand, of course, Uro does grow the Bowmasters. It does mean that the Orc army or the Sultai player himself is going to eat it, but Uro provides so much value, and his graveyard is so stacked that he's going to be able to recast it quite soon. And at this point in time, unless Mono Black can come up with an immediate answer to Uro, the game will be over based on value alone.
And he can shrink the Barrowglyph, right? So he can get rid of the enchantment. He can get rid of the
Planeswalker,
the
definitely.
Planeswalker,
Absolutely,
the
yeah.
creature even. Yeah.
I mean, Tobias, Mono Black Tobias has his own creature in the graveyard, but he does certainly not have a Planeswalker, and he doesn't have an enchantment to my recollection. So you hate being in this position.
Interesting. Yeah.
Looking at the board,
was just
go ahead. Yeah. Looking at the board, Mono Black is ahead, but this is just virtual advantage because he will not be able to get to win the game in this turn, and then next game Uro is going to come back and it's all going to go downhill. Still,
he goes up to 19.
Yeah,
that's something.
19 to 9 is serious advantage. Of course, he gets to pick up a creature. Finds Street Wraith, finds Barrowglyph, Netherglyph, which is going to be the choice here for sure. Street Wraith doesn't do anything, obviously.
If he could have handled the Uro.
Mm-hmm. So we see Dorothy Voidwalker.
Been the worst.
We see Dark Ritual into Voidwalker into Netherglyph. So at least there are a few threats here. Still, though, the Uro is in the graveyard, looming. And how do you get out of this now if you are the Sultai player? Because on the one hand, you will get some life back. Yes, you will eat some damage, but you will get some life back. You're going to get a card back. But his hand is, I think, 2 lands. And that, of course, is not going to do it against, well, such a number of threats here.
Uro has lifelink, right? Does he?
Uro does... I should know this, but it's been a while. Uro does not have lifelink. It's just a big dumb beater.
Okay.
It gains life whenever it attacks, but it doesn't have lifelink.
It just feels like it has lifelink.
Yeah. But importantly, it's a bad blocker, and so Sultai actually does decide to pack it up. So sideboards, what do you think?
Never played this deck, but what is good against Mono Black? Creature removal? Veil of Summer, potentially?
Not a lot of things, honestly. I might go into Graveyard Hit here, due to the Goyfs.
Right.
And possibly Veil of Summer, seeing as how he is playing a black deck.
Yeah, for sure.
Toxic Deluge to get rid of creatures. Those would be my bets. And maybe... No, I don't think I'm seeing any other options here.
What do you take out? Stifles?
Definitely Stifles and possibly creatures which are just weak to the black removal, things that are dependent on your own graveyard. And on the mono black side, I am looking at Opposition Agent, definitely. And again, possibly Surgicals and maybe even Toxic Delusions myself. It's a creature
Who's
matchup.
the guy at the very bottom here? The protection for a white guy.
Yeah, Torach, which doesn't do anything in this matchup. But the point is, this is a creature matchup through and through, where Mono Black's matchup is just, or Mono Black's match is just trying to, discard, beat. And the Sultai game is trying to, stem the bleeding up until they can turn the corner, which here they didn't manage, although it did look quite well for them. And in the end, what won the game was a Barrowglyph trigger. And so that has to be the target.
Yeah, you're right. The Barrowglyph really carried Toby to the end. It's just a crazy good card.
We must not have two people with the same name in the feature match area again.
that's forbidden.
So, obviously, Sultai begins with a fetch land, passes the turn. Toby plays his fetch land on his own, has a look at his own library with the Mishra's Bauble trigger, trying to see if he should fetch before or not. And does he pass the turn? He fetches before passing the turn, so he did not like what he saw.
No. Goes for basic as well.
Well, and honestly, looking at these whiteboarded
Yeah.
basics, I also don't like what I see, but I digress.
Well, they're not the worst. I mean,
They're
they're not pizza lands.
No, but they're working all right. I think it's the mono black land with white bordered cards is quite flashy. So he cast the Dark Ritual, obviously trying to grow to accelerate his mana. And this is a tough spot because I've been there. You on the one hand you want to let it resolve and just let him try and cast a spell and then counter the spell, so you could 2-for-1. But on the other hand, you might not have a perfect answer, and so Dark Ritual resolves, which makes a Barrowglyph resolve, which lets Toby cast another bauble, looking at his opponent's library. And so this Goyf is already a 3-4, I think, which is quite good.
Yeah. Did he forget to draw his cards, or are we still in his end step?
I'm pretty sure. No, but we're still in the end step. Sultai just fetched for the Surveil trigger.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Maybe we can see him miss the trigger. I'm not rooting for it, but I'm also not rooting for it, I have to admit. So Surveil trigger on the stack, looks at the top of his library. And we see the hand is quite stacked. I think I see a dress down, I see a land, I think a Tamiyo, and he decides to keep it on top and draw it. Toby did draw for the trigger, so well done here.
So what to do here from a Sultai player perspective? How to handle this Barrowglyph?
It's tricky. On the one hand, he can, as I said, if I do see it correctly, he's got a dress down, so he can prevent the first or the next attack. But that is not only a temporary solution. And even worse, by that point, he might open himself up to an Orcish Bowmaster's trigger because he has to wait for the next turn. And so if he has a different option, he might want to take it, but I'm not quite sure he's got one.
Well, he can play it in his end of turn, right? He can play in his end of turn. He can play the...
That is true.
The dress down.
That is correct.
Play around that.
Yeah. So he plays Tamiyo, and Toby decides to cycle a Street Wraith in response.
Drawing card.
Which led us to his next turn.
And it puts a creature in the yard, right? There's
it does.
Artifact, land, instant creature.
Yeah, so
the
Barrowglyph is on 4/5.
Which mono black Toby will for sure remember. I feel like he has that under control.
We'll see. Oh, he missed it. Oh, we'll see if that's we have to see if that's gonna come back. Well, he didn't. He actually missed the trigger here. And knowing what's on the top of his library, possibly if the fourth card was a creature, he actually missed the card draw. These things can be huge. Now, it's a bit tricky because on the one hand, both players have to keep track of the game step. On the other hand, it is hard to fault Sultai Toby here for mono black Toby miscounting his own graveyard.
Especially when he represents it with a counter on the...
Yeah, I would not have any reason to doubt that this number is correct. Thoughtseize is countered by Well of Summer, or reacted to.
That's what you want to do. What you want to see. Yeah.
Drawing a card, and he did not find the second land. Now that is interesting.
What a greedy keep. I mean, he had a wasteland, right?
Yeah, he wasted.
Yeah. He wasted, okay.
I mean, he had a wasteland and he had a Dark Ritual, and now he realizes that...
So now he corrects it.
Well, now it should be on 5. Actually, 4. Instant... Sorcery, land, creature. No, 4 is correct. Now he realizes he's had the creature all along. Maybe they're even talking about it.
Land, artifact, instant.
Yeah, so Tamiyo...
Sorcery. Yeah. I think it should be 5 now.
Yeah, no, you're correct. See, I was correct as well. I just didn't trust my own judgment. So he's still off by 1. We've seen Uro being cast after Tamiyo made a clue trigger. And so again, the Sultai player, well, at this point, of course, with the land advantage, especially if you can find a land off of Uro here, which, well, he's got plenty in his hand. He's just trying to figure out which one to play. So we are +3 lands on Sultai. And the question now is just whether or not Toby will be able to shut the door before the Sultai Toby is going to regain control of the game. I see Force of Will and Dress Down, so he's got whatever next spell could be coming from Mono Black covered. And of course the clue tokens are just going to keep increasing his benefit.
That's true. And he's on Mono Black Tobi's on one land. But now let's see if he can find a creature. Well, the creature is not what he's missing. Oh, well, that's exactly the right creature. You find another Goif, then at least you can play it.
He found. Why did he not take it?
Huh? Why did he not pick it up? Yeah.
So at this point, I really don't want to dwell on it, but he missed 2 points of damage, and he missed a card draw. So technically, this game is supposed to be 24 and 12. And though he would have played the exact same Nether Goif, I'm not sure he's trying to fill his yard. He's had a creature already.
Oh, but I mean, at this point, you want the Nether Goif. That's the threat you can cast, right?
These things happen. I mean, we've all made misplays.
Yeah.
If
of course,
it even is
for the first time.
Yeah, maybe there is a reason. Either way, Sultai untapped. Now, the Uro in the graveyard is not yet ready to be deployed, obviously, since he only has 3 other cards in his graveyard. Also, interestingly enough, he chose not to counter the Nether Goif, because, as I said, he's got Force of Will and he's got a Dress Down. Certainly not feeling threatened by the Nether Goif, which is quite interesting. With him being on 14 life and there being a potential 10 power on the other side of the board, not countering this and instead opting to draw some more cards. And of course, he's got the opportunity to flip the Tameo now, which, well, to be fair, would die immediately, so maybe not the best play here. But he knew that that was going to be the case.
So what's in his hand? We see a Dress Down.
Yeah, well, the Wasteland that he plays just now, another UC, a Dress Down, Force of Will, and, well, the Fatal Push there that takes care of the Barrogoyf due to the Revolt trigger.
Yep.
And so we're down to another Goif now on 5/6 versus a Tameo, which threatens to flip. Now, Mono Black does not know that the Sultai player does not have a Brainstorm in their hand, and there is, of course, always the option that could take place. And the Wasteland, which, well, I'm pretty sure he just didn't know what to take out, because as far as I can tell, Mono Black does not play any non-basic lands outside of the fetches, which, of course, you can't really waste. Drawing a clue. Drawing a card off the clue, I should say. Cycling Street Wraith.
Tobi's paying life for cards again. Well, he's comfortable.
I mean, he's sitting pretty at 20. Calls for Thoughtseize. And Force of Will into the Thoughtseize.
Yeah, because of the Barrogoyf, he wants to protect his hand, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Attacks.
So, even though on board Tobi is ahead, I think this looks very bad for Tobi, because I think now it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, of course. And again, for example, Uro in the graveyard allows you to be a bit more liberal with your forces, seeing as how it feeds the graveyard, even if it's just the one card that goes into it. He clearly realized, Sultai that is, that he doesn't need the Dress Down, seeing as how Barrogoyf is gone. And so the game is just about, getting Uro out, getting the land out, and just, building your advantage further and further.
Yep. Did he just make 2 land drops here? No, probably not.
Well, he would be allowed to make 2 land drops because he played out an Uro.
Oh, right. Okay. See, these kind of things. So
Barrogoyf is deployed as well. And at this point, the advantage is almost certainly overwhelming.
Yep.
Makes another clue. I mean, that's what drawing 3 cards per turn does to you, right? Mono Black packs it up, and we go into game 3. Now, it seems like neither of the mistakes that Mono Black made actually ended up costing them the game. But it is noticeable, especially the one time where they missed the creature that could have made a difference. So, mulligan to 5 on Mono Black.
Ugh.
That's not what you like to see. Fetches into a swamp, and the swamp casts a Dark Ritual, so that would certainly be another Goif, because, having to keep 5, at least you want to try and be explosive about it. I don't see an answer in the Sultai player's hand. At least from where I'm sitting, there is no force here, so this will resolve.
But if you have it, you use it at this point,
absolutely.
Right? So if you have a force,
you have to assume. I mean, Mono Black is not on a combo deck, so this is a desperate attempt to just get anything on the board. If you can answer this, and I mean, now this just being a regular 1-drop, or actually, 2 creatures at once, that's probably the best situation for Tobi, because if this were just 1 creature, literally any fetch plus fatal push answers his creature. This way, at least he's got 3 creatures on the board, and it'll be well, some cleanup that Sultai has to do. But of course, he also played out almost his entire hand, and that's it, really.
What an interesting turn 1 from Toby here.
Yeah, I can see how this was the plan. Obviously, we didn't see what his the first 2 hands that he did not keep were, but at least there was a plan here. I mean, it's, you know, I'm gonna run you down. So he found a Thoughtseize from the top because the last card in his hand was a fatal push. And Sultai will react to this by, well, is he going to brainstorm some card away in his hand, or is he going to let this resolve first?
I think I saw Veil of Summer, or maybe I was wrong. I mean, he fetched for the Underground Sea.
Yeah. I mean, you can't cast a fetching for UC, and I certainly don't think he would use Whale of Summer here, because that would just basically trigger the Bowmasters. Now, so is Brainstorm, to be quite honest. That is interesting.
I don't have anything to target then. Oh.
We'll see if that trigger is going to go on the stack, or if it's not. I think I saw Mono Black reach for a die here. Yeah, there it is. But whatever he's got in his hand, he wants to protect so badly that he's willing to eat 3 to the face and grow the Orc army. That's quite interesting.
It is. Or he is looking for anything, like if you're really desperate.
Well, I mean, he might just be looking for a Toxic Deluge, because honestly, if he can cast that for X equals, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the next 1 or 2 turns, the game is over.
That's true.
And if you know that that's your out, might go digging for it. And certainly, there is a chance that Mono Black would have taken the Brainstorm had he seen that there really is not a lot of action in Sultai's hands. So Sultai reveals a removal, well, Shieldred's Edict, a Tameo, 2 Wastelands, and a dual land and a fetch land, if I see it correctly. And a Life from Below.
That's a Life from Below.
That is interesting. Taking Shieldred's Edict, interesting choice here, because on the one hand, he could of course force Mono Black to get rid of the Orc token, which currently hits the hardest, but on the other hand, the Moon Shadow is protected by the Orcish Bowmasters. So maybe the play would have been to force him into the Shieldred's Edict, and just making him have, make the worst of 2 choices. So this is the card that he tried to protect, because he did have it in his hand already. Witherbloom Command, which is the only removal that he has that directly attacks the Moon Shadow. And this is what he was willing to eat so much damage for.
So now Toby's still ahead on board, but again...
The card advantage is not... well...
It's still 1 land as well, again.
Yeah, he did not find a second land, and despite the fact that he's got so many cards in his hand, well, he can't cast any of them, and Sultai's card advantage certainly... The card quality in the Sultai deck is just better. Card for card, he hasn't beat. And so what we're seeing here is basically him trying to close the game before that card advantage can materialize.
It feels very similar to the last game, even though the cards are different. The narrative is the same, right?
I mean, going back to the original choice, Brainstorm versus the Orcish Bowmasters. Sultai was trying to protect the removal because he figured that would be what Mono Black was going to take away from him. And as I said, willing to eat a lot of damage and actually, increasing or shortening the clock by a serious amount of turns. Now with Barrogoyf, of course, that is there and that is in place. But if Toby were to find a fetch land now, he can easily fatal push that away unless there is any counter magic in Sultai's hands, and that's almost game then. And so that was a very brave choice to be willing to eat 3, 6, 9 damage over the course of the next couple of turns.
So, but now the Barrogoyf comes, and that will turn the tides here, I think.
Yeah, as I said, Toby has had a fatal push in his hand since the beginning of the game. But he needs to. He would need a way to activate Trigger Revolt, so either a Bauble or a fetch land, neither of which he appears to have, and so he doesn't really have an answer for this Barrogoyf, which means he can't attack into it, obviously due to the lifelink.
Which is so unfortunate, because usually that deck has opportunities to trigger Revolt,
yeah,
right?
And so he has to pass the turn. And at this point, then you untap with Barrogoyf and your 4 mana and your 3 cards in hand, and 4 cards even, and that must be game. He can freely attack into Toby's board if he feels like it. The life gain is going to protect him for another turn. And if he does not choose to, well, what are you afraid of? If he couldn't beat it last turn, he can't beat it this turn. Wisely decides to crack in. Now, the bad thing about Toby's situation currently is that he can't even represent a Fatal Push because he has nothing to trigger Revolt with. If anything, he could block, lose the blocker, and then Fatal Push, so that might be what he's considering here right now.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Maybe just sacrifice the Orcish Bowmasters.
Yeah, the thing is, it's a good question if you should sack the Bowmasters or if you should sack the creature. I do think going for the creature is the reasonable take here because the Bowmaster still threatens Sultai's life total if he decides to draw some cards.
Sure.
And now Revolt has been activated at the very least, and Sultai does not get to draw a card or rather dig for a creature. So there's a Tamiyo, which of course also happy recipient of a Fatal Push, but you know, priorities.
And as long as the Bowmaster is there, we don't see the Tamiyo flipping.
You would think so, right? So yeah, Fatal Push now cast, and in response, Orcish Bowmasters get rid of the original Bowmasters. And so while the situation
Toby sits there.
Yeah, but while the situation has changed, it certainly hasn't improved.
No.
Barrogoyf, which should be something like a 4/5 in this spot.
The Nethergoyf is not doing a whole lot.
Yeah, Nethergoyf, of course. Cheap Goyf.
Cheap Goyf. By both means.
Yeah, Ponder, which is going to be cast immediately.
Yep.
Force of Will. And
Fatal Push.
Fatal Push, yeah. Fatal Push is going to be drawn. Getting rid of the creature, of course. Very neat and tidy here. And at this point, this is just it. Though, to be fair, we have to remember, Toby was on a mulligan to 5, started quite explosively, and still is on only 1 land. For all the things that haven't gone well for him this game, this was actually a close game. It looks very one-sided now, but that is really only because at one point the answer wasn't there. Remember, if it were, you know, fetch land Fatal Push, he could have run away with the game.
Yeah,
instead,
fetch land or bubble us, something like this.
Something like that. Instead, of course, Tamiyo flips, which, you know, makes the game all about her now, though, to be honest, not going to make a lot of difference here.
No, I see an Uro, I see a Force of Will. At this point, Sultai Toby just knows it's a matter of time.
And I think...
Will Toby find a second land?
Nope, and so he concedes, and that's it.
See you in round 3.